Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And today's a Thursday and I've got a tag video for you. I was very kindly tagged by Marc Nash and this is the Pain Over Joy tag. And this was created by Jessica at Lady Lovestead Reads. I'll leave a link, of course, for both those channels down below. And this is quite a tricky and somewhat challenging task, actually, I have to say, to do. But let's jump in and see how we get on. I haven't actually prepared. I've been extremely busy, but I thought I'll give this a go. And perhaps speaking off the cuff, I'll put out some good answers and not just end up rambling and umming and ahhing. But we'll see. Okay, so number one. Do you mostly read books illustrating pain or books illustrating joy? Why? It's not really something I think about when I come to choose a book. It would be whether or not the book illustrates pain or joy, I think would be incidental to the overall topic or the overall story. Do I read books mostly illustrating pain or illustrating joy? It's very difficult. I can't see a lot of my reading when I read non-fiction for pleasure would be kind of espionage novels, that kind of stuff. Certainly there are elements of pain in them, but I wouldn't say then it's necessarily an overriding theme. For example, I read recently A Spy Who Came In From the Cold, and I suppose there is a lot of illustration of pain in that one, actually, so I've kind of just contradicted myself, given that the character seems at least to battle with alcoholism for part of it. There's kind of a sad love story, really, and of course a tragic end. I wouldn't say... I can't really say that I read one over the other. If I do read books illustrating pain or illustrating joy, it would be probably fairly balanced and certainly not central to the story, at least not as a reason for me reading it. Okay, number two, do you see books about pain as more intellectually valuable? Why or why not? Well, I suppose there's probably a tendency for people to do that. I think because if it's about joy, it tends to be comedic, perhaps, which would be seen as somehow of inferior intellect, maybe. Personally, I don't think that a book about pain must necessarily be intellectually more valuable. In fact, comedy or books that contain a lot of joy might be immensely more intellectual because, it takes a lot of thought in making something joyful and joyous to read, and especially if it is a comedic novel, because you have to really think hard about, the jokes you're putting in there or the funny situations. Whereas it's much easier, I think, for us to come up with a story that illustrates pain or sadness. We don't have to think very hard of that at all, about that at all. So personally, I don't. But when you look at all of these kind of popular books these days, there does seem to be an element of pain within them, perhaps, and it does seem that pain is popular. I've never been someone who reads books for the sake of reading about pain. Life is hard enough. I don't see the need to do so, unless, of course, you want to make yourself feel better by looking how worse somebody else has it, perhaps. But it's very difficult, very challenging questions. It's very, very interesting. Number three, why do you think major book prizes like the Booker and the Pulitzer mainly award books about pain? I think it's probably the same reason that a lot of Oscar-winning films are usually about people, facing difficult challenges or terrible sadnesses and things like that. So Probably because it's very relatable to us as human beings. We've all gone through and will go through pain in our lives, I suppose. So seeing others go through it, and especially if they overcome it, is very appealing to us. So perhaps that's why these prize committees go for such works. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know enough about all the Booker Prize winners or Pulitzer Prize winners to really say that is the case. I'm just aimlessly, I suppose, agreeing with the question. I did read one Pulitzer Prize winning book. It's the last book I finished. It wasn't a novel, it was a non-fiction, The Sixth Extinction, and I suppose there is a large degree of pain, if you want, associated with that book, seeing it's about the demise of life on Earth. So, yeah, I think it's something very relatable to humanity. So, pain seems to maybe win out. I don't know. I mean, obviously we love joy as well, but there does seem to be that kind of bias, I suppose, towards pain. But really, the reason why, I don't know. Number 4, do you use and agree with the phrase guilty pleasure? Why or why not? Yeah, I might do, but there might be more to do with chocolate than reading. No, I don't know. Yeah, not really. I don't use it so much, actually, when it comes to reading. I don't think I have much to feel guilty about regarding what I read, and I'll read pretty much anything, especially, if people recommend it, even though it might not be my normal cup of tea. I don't think that you have to feel guilty at all, really, when it comes to reading. As long as you read something, you shouldn't feel that it's something that you have to kind of keep to yourself. Okay, next. Number 5. Do you think books centering on joy are guilty pleasures? I don't know. I really don't know. Gosh, I'm so sorry. This is probably one of the worst tag videos you've seen. And maybe I should have thought about it more, but I can't see really how I could come up with different answers. Do I think books centering on joy are guilty pleasures? Depends on the book. I mean, I know I said there shouldn't be any feeling of guilt, but I suppose when people say, like, the little things they really enjoy, and if they take it this way rather than more literal meaning, what's the joy? If it's ecstasy, sexual ecstasy, if that's classed as joy, then I suppose I could see those being so-called guilty pleasures, because you might not shout out to everybody at work that you read books about bondage or sadomasochism and things like that, but it gives you joy, it gives you ecstasy or whatever. So in which case I can see that as falling under this idea of a guilty pleasure. If it's just reading a funny book now and again, I don't see how that necessarily would be a guilty pleasure. I love books about joy, or books that make me laugh, whether they make me laugh out loud or whether they make me just chuckle to myself. I don't see anything guilty in that. I know it's not really asked there, but I could see also the reverse, that perhaps books about pain give people some kind of guilty pleasure, in the sense that they enjoy reading those books. I know a lot of people who love reading what I think are depressing books. I mean, I don't want to read them at all, but I have a lot of friends who absolutely love books by certain authors. And it always seems to me, whenever I hear about them, somebody's got a terminal illness, they've just fallen in love, they got like a day left to live, and all these kind of things, and they read, these authors stick to similar themes, and people love to read these kind of books. So perhaps that's a guilty pleasure in a weird way as well. I mean, people might derive pleasure, even though they won't admit it, out of other people's pain, perhaps. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I seem to use that phrase a lot, don't I, on this one. Right, number 6. Do you read in secret? Are there books you read but never talk about because of embarrassment, shame, or feel guilty about liking them? No. Music, perhaps, sometimes. I might be a bit of a closet fan occasionally of people like, I don't know, Cher or Lady Gaga or whoever. I can't believe I've said that now on this. But, there are certainly songs that I might not admit to my friends due to certain, macho stupidity, I suppose, down the pub and say, oh yeah, I really liked so-and-so's new song, but, you might catch me when it comes on the radio doing a bit of a boogie. So that in itself might be a secret, but though, of course, it's out of the bag now. But regarding books, not really, and certainly not now. I mentioned on another tag, one I made actually. Sorry to blow my own trumpet there, but yeah, it was semi-autobiographical tag, and it was, when did you first encounter sex in a book? That was a secret. Not now, of course, but it was at the time, because, I'd found this book while we were on holiday and we were staying in these apartments in Portugal, and the cover really attracted me because it was like a Second World War cover. It was about German soldiers on the Eastern Front, but there was a load of sex in that book, and I was only 11, 12, and of course I started reading it thinking, it's like a war story, it's going to be really exciting. It was, but then there was a lot of graphic sex in the book, and of course I didn't advertise that. Instead, I kind of ducked down in the corner of the car reading it, thinking, oh, I hope nobody finds out, what I'm reading. Other examples? No, not really. I'm not one to really... I can't really think of other examples of books that one would really be shamed to read. I mean, I think, especially in a community like this, I think we would respect whatever anyone was reading. There's certainly books I would personally be ashamed to read, and I would never maybe read them. But as I say, erotica isn't my cup of tea. Maybe some things by Gilly Cooper or is it Jackie Collins and these people, I probably wouldn't read them, and I would probably feel a certain self-shame to read them, but I wouldn't judge others and make them feel ashamed or embarrassed for doing so, because to each their own. So yeah, that's it. Gosh, I hope I did answer some of those questions in a reasonably good way, and it hasn't ended up into me just going I don't know. Probably has, but hey. So last part is, who do I tag? I've seen a few people do this. I'm not entirely sure who has, but I will tag Summer at Cosy Reading with Quaker Cats. I'll tag Aaron Facer. I hope that's pronounced correctly, Aaron. And Larry Has Opinions. So I'll stick with those two for now. And of course, anybody else watching, feel free to do it. It's interesting. Probably takes a lot of thought, much more preparation than I gave it, but hopefully you got something out of it. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch my ranting and rambling, and I hope you're all safe and sound, happy and healthy, and I will see you all again soon. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.